I'd like to repeat a little bit the feeling that was there when you benched on the Rebbe's Esrog and the Rebbe's Sukkah while the Rebbe was standing there. They started, they say, Tovshin Yud Aleph, and went on till the last year, Tovshin Chav Dalet. Then later, the next years, the Rebbe would give the Esrog to Reb Meir Harlik, and there was a special little Sukkah built in the big Sukkah, but a little section where everyone would come in, and this Rebbe's Esrog was there, and Reb Meir Harlik was standing there. Except Tovshin Nun Beis, when the Rebbe actually went into that little Sukkah and watched everybody bench Esrog for over 6 hours. That was a Yetzim and a Klal. That was the last Sukkahs before the Rebbe had the stroke. But otherwise, people would bench in that little Sukkah without the Rebbe being there. It was only a Shliach, Reb Meir Harlik. But till Tovshin Chav Dalet, the Rebbe would stand there. Now the truth is, in the year Tovshin Chav Dalet, the Rebbe already didn't stand there the whole time. Till then, the Rebbe would stand there, and people would go in, and the Rebbe would stand there the whole time till the last person benched. And therefore, many times Yontiv davening would not start on time, not start 10 o'clock, would start 10:30, start 11, maybe even later, because the lines weren't that long, but still it took quite a while till it was finished. And then the Rebbe left and went into the shul was much later. But the truth is that the year Tovshin Chav Dalet, already, the Rebbe didn't stand there the whole time. The Rebbe stood there only a little bit in the beginning and then walked out, and then they did it without the Rebbe standing there. I don't remember if that was every day of Sukkot or maybe just the first day of Sukkot that the Rebbe stood a little bit, and that's it. And it was known that the Rebbe had said why no one thought of it to tell him that he doesn't have to stand there whenever one is benching Esrog, and it takes away his time. So I don't know if someone wrote to the Rebbe, hey, why is he standing there? And the Rebbe accepted it and then complained why no one said it till then. Or the Rebbe on his own said it. But whatever it is, it's Tovshin Chav Dalet already. The Rebbe stopped in the middle and went out. And Tovshin Chav Hei already, the Rebbe didn't come completely. So the reason Tovshin Chav Hei, the Rebbe didn't stand there, people thought maybe it's because the Avelis after his mother passed away, but we didn't think it had any shaykhs to it, because already Tovshin Chav Dalet, it was already stopped basically, not completely, but we saw that the Rebbe is going to stop that year already, so that year is only a little bit. I actually had the schus to be from the first that were in the Sukkah, the Rebbe's Sukkah, when the Rebbe was still even Tovshin Chav Dalet. And the Seder Bechlal was that you would walk in, the Esrog and Lulav were laying on the table in the Sukkah, because the person before you had put it down after he benched. You would walk in, you would pick up the lulav, make the bracha, and take the esrog. The Rebbe would stand on the other side. The door was on the right side. The Rebbe would stand by the wall on the other side, but not mamish by the wall. He would stand in the corner. And he stood there. He didn't sit. He was standing there with a sefer. The times that I remember, it was a Rebbe Marash Sefer Mamorim of the Rebbe Marash, because you could see it was in the Ksav Yad, the Rebbe Shmuel Sefer, which that's how they printed the Rebbe Marash's Mamorim then. You could see the Rebbe's looking into that Sefer. Anybody who walked in, the first thing the Rebbe would give a look at him. The look was because whenever you went by the Rebbe, he looked at you, whether it was Lekach or Koshel Brocha, and later on by dollars. The Rebbe would look at you, push it. There's the connection, the communication the Rebbe would have. But in this case, people were saying maybe it's even more, that the look was like saying it's a maltonam nasl harsi, because the Rebbe writes in Sefer HaMenhagim that it's kedai, it's the right thing, and it says you should say every time that you give it, you should say that it's a maltonam nasl harsi. But here he didn't, but looks like the look was like acknowledging the yes, that you could take it, and that's a maltonam nasl harsi. But we're not sure what went through the Rebbe's mind, but some people were saying that. And the Rebbe gave you like a look, and the feeling that you had was mamish kimat, like Yechidus. It wasn't Yechidus, obviously. It wasn't in the Rebbe's room. And it was also, the Rebbe was standing, not sitting. But still, you walked in, you were there all by yourself with the Rebbe. Just like by Yechidus, one of the feelings you got was that I know Malka B'Chadeya, me and the Rebbe myself, which gave a very, very close feeling, a feeling of closeness to the Rebbe. So walking in the Sukkah was similar to that. You walked into the Sukkah, the door obviously stayed open, and the Rebbe gave a look at you. The look penetrated into the person, and the Rebbe then continued looking into the Maimer, and you would pick up the lulav, make the bracha, and take the esrog, and then put it right down and walk out to make it as fast as possible, so it shouldn't take too much time. No one made nanuyim. Only a few people had the right to make nanuyim. The one I remember offhand is Reb Zalman Duchman, would go in, bench with the Rebbe's esrog, and also make nanuyim. Probably there were a few more of the older Chassidim, but like this nobody did it, which is similar to what happened by the Rebbe Rashab, Tov Reish Ayin Tes. No one had an esrik. The Rebbe Rasha was the only one that got through Reb Shmuel Gararia, the Calabria, Yanever esrik, and everyone came to bench with that esrik. And he also said nobody should make nanuyim. And he stood there for a few hours, sat there a few hours. He was inside the sukkah also when the people benched on his esrik, and it was a few hours, and he didn't allow anybody to make the nanuyim. Now by us, when we benched esrik with the Rebbe's esrik, we went out and found somebody else who had on his own esrog and lulav, because we didn't have our own. I was a bocher, bochrim didn't have their own, so you would go out and find somebody who had an esrog and lulav, and you would borrow it to finish nanuyim. We tried to do it right away, so it shouldn't be a hefsek between the bracha you made and the nanuyim. Also, we try usually to get an esrog and a lulav from somebody who got it from the Rebbe, because we know before Sukkot, Erev Sukkot, there were certain people that the Rebbe would give the dalad minim, like Rabbi Reichik and people like that. So we would try to find one of those people and make the nanuyim and also an estek that came from the Rebbe. But if you didn't find one, we would make an anybody, because we didn't want it to be a hefsek between the bracha and the nanuyim. And this was a special feeling that you had when you went into the Rebbe's sukkah. And then Tovshin Chavdallah, the Rebbe only stood there a little bit and then left, and it continued in the Rebbe's sukkah without the Rebbe being there. I think then already Reb Meir Halik was there, if I'm not mistaken. And the next year already it stopped completely, because it just took up from the Rebbe much time. And except of Shinun Beis, when the Rebbe stood there over 6 hours watching everybody who benched on his esrog.